Welcome to the Daily B Show, episode 109 with Jessica Mcilveen in the house. Daily B Show, we are helping you believe in yourself, express yourself authentically, and evolve consciously, and just growing your greatness in general. So we bring Jessica to you today. She is empowering kids with complex needs. She's found what she loves. She's found the people that she loves doing it with, and now she's here to help you and inspire you to go out there and search for that within yourself. So, Jessica, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. It has been a whirlwind since catching up with you, and I think the story that you told me, which I'm really keen for you to share with people today, and you telling me just how you really love what you do, and you found the people that you love doing it with. It seems so simplistic, but it was so profound at the same time. But for those that haven't met you or are yet to sort of find out who you are and what you're doing, do you mind sharing just briefly exactly, who you are and what you're doing right now with yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Jessica Mcilveen.
So I am Jessica Mcilveen, founder. So we've got a bit of a double play there.
Well, yeah, so people know as well. What we're doing is Jessica Mcilveen in the head. Telling me just how you really love what you. So we don't even do the work. Just do it. We've got our phones and we're on Zoom, so we're going live through Zoom. But Facebook doesn't. The algorithms don't like exterior live streams. Jessica Mcilveen. Turn your phone down. Yeah, sure. Jessica Mcilveen. So we're going to do. We're playing. What are they called? Like watch parties on Facebook, and that helps get the out there as well. What's going on?
So we're trying.
We're trying, but that's the method of the madness.
So am I pressing start watch party?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's go and it's going to replay all we've just done.
Yeah, just turn your volume on your phone down.
Yeah, righto. Sorry, everyone.
No sorries. So you should have seen. So we're at episode 109, right? The first episode, weren't even able to release it because there was so much of a mess around. It's probably up to episode 60 or 70. We're still having like technical difficulties, like echoes and this and that. And so that's a part of this show as well, has been really showing people that nothing's perfect. Let go of that perfectionism and just get started with what you love to do and what really you're called to do, because it's not about being perfect and putting out that perfect image right there and then, but it's about growing with the process and journeying with it. So I actually love when this sort of stuff happens, and also sharing what we're doing and the evolution, because I mean, at the moment, I'm putting all these up onto iTunes and Spotify and these sort of sites. And when people see this at episode 100 or 500 or 1,000, they're going to obviously have their judgment, but they're going to be able to go back and see how much of a fuck up it was from such early on, and how it's just about that consistent, persistent action along the way that really gets to that seemingly perfect space eventually. Obviously, never reach it, but it's always great to have these little idiosyncrasies pop up and add a bit of character and spice of life to what we're doing.
Yeah, that's it. And I think they tell you in the marketing world, don't they, that perfection is boring. So let's keep it interesting and have technical difficulties.
That's why it's boring. Wondering what
so to answer your question, Matt, let's get in there. I am Jessica Mcilveen. I am the founder of Kids Yoga Therapy, and I have been running it for over 1.5 years now, and that still blows my mind. I can't believe I've nearly been in business for 2 years.
Business?
It's crazy. Pardon?
First business?
First business, yeah.
Oh.
So honestly, it's been the best 1.5 years of my life, the most difficult, but the absolute best fun I could have ever hoped for. Not only because of the children that I get to work with and the families that I get to see, but it really is a different realm. It's a different world when you're in business and you're meeting other people in business and you're wanting to build connections with more people like you. And I'd have to say that just as much as parenting is a personal journey, because children often trigger what's inside of you, business does exactly the same thing. It triggers everything inside of you. So it's been a personal journey as well for me. And the best learning experience I could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that really leans into that whole notion and values of the Daily Bee, which is believing in yourself enough to get out there and try something new, or really commit to something when you've found what's good for you.
Mm.
Expressing yourself openly, which means really going for something that maybe might not be in the market, or that other people might judge and tell you is a ridiculous idea, but is true to yourself and something that you need to express your craft and your art. And then that constant evolution of like every day something new coming up to smack you in the face of what's really deep inside, and actually having the courage to face it and learn from it, love it, accept it, and evolve from that. That's amazing. And I think something that really stood out to me the first time we spoke was, because this is basically our second or third conversation, but the first time we really had a chat was that relationship that you made with business and actual relationships as well, and how parallel they run to one another, the emotions, the feelings, the highs, the lows, and that was something that stood out to me as well.
Yeah, I get triggered exactly the same through business as I do in relationships. It's exactly the same. And, my coach, she will say constantly, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Yep. So when you start to see those parallels and those similarities in each pocket of your life, then that's when the fun can start. You realize how our brain actually works then. And when you start to get interested in it instead of frustrated and angry and annoyed with it, then that's when the change can start to happen. And that's what I often have to teach with families too, and children. So they're often really scared and fearful within their bodies. Yeah. And if I can start to teach them to be interested instead of fearful, that's when the magic happens. Yeah. That's when our brain can start to relax a little bit and our body can start to relax a little bit and become interested in what's really going on. Okay, I've always thought it was this. Maybe it's a few other reasons. Yeah. And then we start to reduce the self-frustration and the self-hatred and the anxiety around needing to fix the problem all the time. Fix. Yeah, yeah. So that's what I found a lot.
And what were you doing before you were running the business? What were you up to with yourself?
So I am a little dog there. I'm a social worker as well. So I was working in child protection and foster care.
Yeah, okay. We've got some friends and neighbours with friendly dogs that are coming around here. I'm up on the balcony.
Got a cheer squad.
Yeah, got a cheer squad. got the crew.
So I was working in foster care for quite a few years and did a short stint in child protection. And I have to say my role in foster care was such a beautiful role, and I loved it so much. So my role in there was I'd have a caseload of families, foster care families, and so my job was to help support them, educate them, decide what the children needed to best serve them. And I'd have meetings in schools. I'd have meetings. It's okay. This is really serious stuff, Matt. Okay, this is serious stuff we're dealing with.
Murphy's Law.
And I was having meetings with other therapists, and I was also placing children. So I was deciding what households these children should go to. And I was doing foster care assessments. Should these people be caring for children? Should they not be caring for children? And I was the one doing the training as well in the end too. So it was a really powerful role in that I was able to impact children's lives, and a really important role too. So important. Yeah. And I actually became quite frustrated in the end with it though. Looking back on it now, I was just frustrated at the just how closed-minded I found people to be in this environment. Not necessarily the people I worked with, but we're obviously working in teams, right? There's about a team of 20 caring for each child, and you try to be on the same page with 20 or so other people. I mean, that's impossible.
Yeah, it's hard to have a day out with 4 mates sometimes. Too many decisions, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, right. Choosing the same restaurant or choosing something the same. It's just impossible. And so we've got this one child bouncing around, right? They're in limbo land. They don't know what's going on. And we've also got these foster carers that are bouncing around between different opinions also, but they're coming with their own experiences that are quite confusing too. So I just got frustrated because I just wasn't seeing any impact or any changes for these kids, no matter how many interventions or therapies that we had for them.
Do you think that's, I will go into a bit of what it is you're actually doing yourself now to impact that, but looking in hindsight at that, the way that's set up, is that a systems issue? Do you feel that there's, like you said, just too many chefs in the kitchen and there's just not a clear enough hierarchy or hierarchy of care that is drip fed down to individuals? Or like, what do you sort of see as being maybe a solution or the main issue?
If the more and more I work with humans and the more and more I discover about myself and the human brain, I just honestly, we could always blame the system. That's a really it's the go-to, I reckon. And as you've asked that question, I actually just think we're human beings with a human brain, and how we actually act and respond to any situation is based on our own experiences. And unless we have a team of people who do the work on themselves every day, we're actually never going to delete ourselves from the scenario and purely think about this other human being in front of us. We're just not. There's egos involved, there's opinions involved, there's life experiences involved, and not everybody's really self-aware. They're just not. So I just feel like, so sure, systems in place could certainly improve, and I think they always could, but we've actually got human beings and the human mind to contend with, and that's the complicated part. That's where that's the complicated part.
Okay. I love that. And your journey is attests to that you are really working with that human mind in a holistic way. But before we get to that, continue with where that took you, like that frustration with the industry, and because I know you said you love to travel as well, and that was sort of your escape. But share that little nugget with us.
So I've been traveling since I was 18, and I mean, this is by far. I'm not going to tell you. Well, it's my birthday on Saturday. I'm turning 32, so there's been a few years of travel. And it's a pretty good addiction to have. If I was going to choose any addiction, I'd choose travel. I'm happy with that.
Nice.
But the actual fact was I was addicted. I really was addicted. And it wasn't until I went overseas when I was 30 that I realised what the addiction was. So after realising I needed to quit the other job, I decided to move to Italy. So travel always, as you do. I know, I say that to everybody, and I was like, oh God, who does that? Who really does that? I sat in New Farm Park one day and I just was like, okay, I think I'm going to Italy. I looked up the course, I bought the course, and then I set the date. Like, well, shit, I better go tell my boss on Monday.
That's so good.
And so once I decided, I bought the ticket, I left. But what happened was I started getting panic and anxiety attacks a few weeks leading up to it. And it's not because I was afraid of traveling, because I've done it every year for, the past 11 years. And I still haven't figured it out, to be honest, but I don't really think it's important. What was important was that I was working with the sensations in my body. So I did go to the doctors. I wanted to confirm that I wasn't having a heart attack, because the first day that it happened,
I was brain tumor, I'm going to die.
I know, save me, doctor, please, save me. I don't know what's going on. But I was so terrified. I've never experienced anything like it before. And I've had events in my childhood where there was extreme stress and anxiety.
Can you explain what it was like? Because I haven't really, I know what it's like to be a bit anxious, but Yeah, like what sort of level were you getting to with your anxieties and stress at that point?
So how it impacted me was my vision was lost, so I couldn't see.
That's
Um,
really anxious.
I know.
I think I'd do that if someone's going to throw like something at me, I just shut my eyes and it disappears. Maybe that's what you did. Scary
I
thing,
wish that
come
was the case. My body was like, Jess, you're freaking out too much. We've got to shut down one of your senses to wake you up.
Fuck.
And that's what it chose. It chose my sight, so I couldn't see. And then when there were bits of vision there, I was seeing double, and my peripherals were just gone.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
And it was so freaky. And then my chest was like 50 elephants on my chest, and I couldn't breathe properly. I couldn't really eat. I couldn't sleep properly. I really didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. The sensations in my body were just so scary. And I remember I was about a few days before I left for Italy, I was out doing yoga in the garden at my mum's place. And this was after I'd been to the doctor and the heart attack had been dismissed. Excellent. Here are the meds and be on your way, girl. So
okay.
I threw the meds away because that's just not my thing. That doesn't fit in with me. Yeah. But what I did commit to was daily meditation and yoga. So
had you done it before that, or was that something new?
I'd done yoga and meditation on and off, but I hadn't really committed to meditation much at all. I hadn't.
Okay.
And so what I realised in that garden, I was doing some yoga, and my mum has her dog there and my sister has her dog there, and they're both German Shepherds. And sometimes they don't get along. And they came around to where I was doing yoga, and my mum's dog is really quite protective of me. And so they started going at each other, right? They were like, boom. And they're big dogs, so it was really quite scary. Yeah. And so I was freaked out, right? I was like screaming at the dogs, bloody hell, stop it. I'm like,
just sit down and meditate, goddamn it, dogs. You'll feel a lot better.
Don't you know I need this? Like, I need the cure. Why don't you understand? But the most amazing thing happened. I went inside and my body felt really different. Mm-hmm. So what I realised from that, and this was like my path of learning about how the brain and the body work with each other. Mm-hmm. So my brain snapped, right? It was so outside of itself. Yeah. I was shocked. I was shocked into something. It was like shock therapy, Yeah. I was shocked outside of myself, and those sensations in my body went away. Yeah. So that was the start of the journey. And then, I did leave Australia, and, those sensations did start to come back, but I committed to the daily meditation. And then after 2 weeks of doing that, it was gone. All the sensations.
Explain meditation practice to us as well, because this is one thing. Like, I learned transcendental meditation a while back, and that's really played a big part for me. But so many people, and I remember before I did that and actually sat down with someone to teach me the process of a type of meditation, I would sit there for 5 minutes, be pulling my hair out and just want to punch myself in the face because it was just so ridiculously hard, and I was just trying too hard. But you don't know that at the time. It just feels like torture. But what was it that you really maybe got taught, or what is your practice at the moment that you sit with?
I went down the really simple road, and I just YouTubed stuff. So nice. I started looking up who I liked. So I've narrowed it down. Michael Sealey and Jason Stevenson, they're my men. Cool. They're my main men. Shout out. Their voices just have this tone.
We'll put a link. You send me a link to your, maybe one of each of their meditations that you really like, and we'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Totally, we'll do. And I found that the future self meditations were the ones that got me out of it.
Okay.
Because what they're doing is they're getting your body calm, but your brain is going into the person that you truly want to be, that deep down you truly are. And I knew that if after 30 years, this self here, this anxious and panicked self is not truly me, that's not truly how I'm meant to feel, that's not the real me. So I would, in those meditations, imagine the future Jess, the one that was totally okay within her body, like she always has been. So the more I practiced that and got my brain to consider that that's the real me, that I believe was the changing force for me.
How long do you meditate for each day with that?
So that would be in those first few weeks, that was like half an hour to an hour a day, if not maybe an hour and a half, in 2 intervals.
Fast and Furious in here.
And nowadays I'm probably doing about, in the mornings, between 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, cool.
But for that desperate time, it was the future self meditations that really helped me and guided me.
Yeah, a lot of that stress and anxiety is about really freaking out about like potential futures that are just uncertain or not there, or stressing and worrying about things in the past, and just being sort of all over the shop with our thoughts and our feelings and letting our emotions just chase that thought pattern around. But yeah, as soon as you really have something clear and solid and embodied to latch onto and just hold your focus on, it's so fucking powerful, so powerful. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Our brains are incredible if you learn to work with it instead of against it.
Yeah, well, when you realize that it's all basically bullshit anyway, and that we've just anything you believe is just there because you've been made to believe it and you decided to believe it, and that if you don't like it, if something doesn't make you feel good, you can change your mind. Like the term "change your mind" is something that's said a lot, but that's a massive, profound process and practice to do. Is change your mind is huge, but people don't realize that you can change your mind about anything. So, yes, and this is a beautiful example, like something that is really serious that had you basically on your knees with stress and anxiety, and you went through this process and you were able to change your mind and boom, flourish out of it.
Yeah, and I believe it's what led me to the clarity of what I'm here to do today. No doubt in my mind. I wouldn't have known I was meant to do this if I hadn't gone through that. I always knew. Sorry, Matt.
Speaking of which, that.
Oh yeah. Should we go there?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known. I always knew that I wanted something spectacular for myself. I just, I had this burning within me. Yeah, it's like this circus was inside of me, and it just wanted to burst out, and I didn't know where that energy was meant to go.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I
And
can completely relate.
I've never explained it like a circus before, but that really fits. Yeah. I've even got a hula hoop in my car actually, so it probably fits the bill.
Yeah, cool. It is full on, and I think everyone deep down inside knows that they've got that burning core within them that is just hot to trot, ready to go. But there's so much fear and so much pain and so much negative association that's been programmed into us over such a long period of time that it takes either massive amounts of courage to just trod that path and find it on your own, or a lot of help and a lot of guidance along the way as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I never really knew what courage was. Never really knew, what it means to sit in the uncomfortable and know that the unknown is where you try and resist, but that's where the most amount of joy is. And that sense of liveliness. I never knew that before I started my business.
You do now. And you said that feeling as well. It's like, actually, no, I won't go there yet. There's a secret for later on. I'm just so eager to jump ahead. This is something I really had to learn as a coach. Is like, I just hear someone's story and I'm so eager to like give them the end outcome that if I blurt that out, holy crap, that's a big bug. If I just that is the biggest bug I think I've ever seen. If I just blurt it out, then yeah, obviously I'm doing no one any favors, but it's that journey to get
Yeah.
there that's important.
Got to build, Matt. Got to build.
Oh, no, I'm
Yeah,
just
it's like
excited.
a good movie.
Yeah. So yeah, over in
Mm.
Italy, you're having these moments and really come to this profound sort of realization within yourself, and end up going up to London, was it?
So I went. I decided something wasn't feeling right while I was over there, and I was thinking, I don't actually think I'm meant to live in Italy, and it's like, what? What's wrong with me? Why not? Italy is it is my favorite place on earth. There's no doubt about that.
Whereabouts in Italy?
Oh gosh, I love it all.
Okay.
I mean, I love uh, you know, Siena and San Gimignano was like a little village town, and Lucca is a really gorgeous medieval town.
Yeah, nice.
So anywhere in Tuscany is so gorgeous.
Do you have any Italian heritage?
No, zero.
Okay.
No, I like to say that I can speak no, let's give me a few more points. Let's go 0.5% Italian.
Okay.
I've worked myself up to.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno pizza.
Yeah, pizza would be nice. So I was realizing something wasn't working, something wasn't fitting, and I came across this Instagram article while I was over there, and it was just, when you're just ready to hear the message, that the message comes.
Yeah.
And the message came through loud and clear within this article. She was saying, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're not okay here, you're not okay anywhere. And I was like, holy shit. No, I didn't feel connected or okay in Australia. I've come over here. I don't feel okay over here. What the hell's going on? And I realized in that moment, and I have the journal entry in it, I realized in that moment, I have been escaping Australia at 18 years old purely and simply to seek connection. That is it.
Wow.
Just to seek connection. I felt like I could be my authentic self while I was traveling.
Yeah.
Right? You get to decide who you are on any given day when you travel. So Monday I might be the girl that talks. Tuesday I might be the girl that doesn't talk. I might be the fun girl one day and then the boring girl the next. But that's okay, because that's just what I feel like doing on that day.
That's it.
But everyone's open when they travel, and
Yeah.
I was just so connected and alive when I traveled, and that's what I was addicted to. So once I realized that, well, I've got to create that at home where I want to live for the rest of my life and where my family is.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah,
so once I realized that, I guess I was just open to whatever ideas, and that's when I decided to do the Camino trek, which I think I shared with you. So if anybody knows that trek, that's like 780 kilometers. It starts in France, then it comes all the way through Spain.
It's walking.
You're walking.
Yeah, not like an airplane.
No bikes. No, it's just me and my boots that were a week old. All right. So,
oh my God.
I decided a week before that I was going to do this trek.
You're a beast.
And for people that are pretty good with their treks, they know that that's ridiculous. So I was speaking to other people, and they said that they were training for 6 months to a year, for this trek. Here I am.
Just rocking up.
In my new boots.
I just got the brochure last night at the fish and chip shop. Thought I'd come down and see what's going on.
Just wanted to join you guys. Just thought I'd see what you're doing.
I'm here for the nature walk.
Oh, gosh. That sure as hell was not what it was. It was the most gorgeous walk, but the most challenging. And I got to 200 Ks within that walk. I made it to 200. And I broke down. I really broke down. I was in severe pain. I'd got tendonitis in both knees and my Achilles heel. I got shin splints all up my shins.
Oh my
I've
God.
got blisters. I couldn't walk anymore. I was like, I'm just going to have to crawl. It's just how I'm going to have to do it.
Roll.
And yeah, or roll. Yeah. Or ask, there's people there doing it at like 85 years old.
Yeah, full on. I climbed
Yeah.
Mount Pomona the other day. And this bloody 85-year-old guy come and zoomed up past me. I was like, take me with you.
What are your tricks? What are your secrets?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said he was in the army when he was a young whippersnapper, and he used to climb that hill 5 times every morning before he started the day.
Wow.
Like, well, far out. I don't feel so bad right now.
Yeah. See, there's that self-discipline, right? If we want big outcomes, we've got to have those habits.
That's it.
Yeah. So once I ended up having to quit the trek, unfortunately, and so that's when I went off to the UK to recover. After being in Italy for a month, mind you. But so I went to the UK, and I was just sitting on my couch with my friend, drinking about 10 cups of tea every hour with the chocolate biscuits, the Wheaties.
Cup of tea, sticky boy.
Yeah. And I was just saying, I don't want to go home and be a social worker. I just don't want to do that. I don't feel that that's going to light me up anymore. And so we were talking about what's happened to me over the last couple of months. And then she just said the most simple sentence. And it was, why don't you do the things you love with the people that you want to work with? And that was the most profound thing that she could have said in that moment. So I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, what I know works and what I love doing, yoga and meditation. Who do I want to impact and work with? Children that have experienced trauma, children that have special needs or any complex needs or anything, any needs. And there it was. Boom. So that was it. Yeah, that's all she had to do. And I was up until like 3 a.m. that night doing all the research.
Yeah.
And decided, yeah, this is for me. No one else is doing it. I'm in. Count me in.
That's epic.
And I guess my way back to Australia, I stopped off in Singapore. I did my course, and then that was in December. Yeah, my children's yoga and meditation course. And then I got my business coach in December. Started my business in January.
No messing about here.
No, like the quickest turnaround.
Yeah.
I had no idea that I would do that.
I know, right? 24 months ago. Like, isn't it amazing how you can feel so lost, so sort of certain with your mundanity of and routine of life, not really seeing any light at the end of the tunnel of what's going to happen or where it's going to go. But in such a short period of time now, looking back, you can join those dots up, and it's just the necessity of every single one of those tiny little steps along the way, how imperative and important they were for you to be here is, you can't even put words on that. But yes, people are still so hard on themselves when they're not certain about where they're at or what's going on. So hard on themselves when they seemingly don't have an answer when people say, hey, what are you doing with yourself right now? Or when they don't have, like, when they run out of money before the week runs out. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know what's around the corner in such a short period of time, what can change for you and where you can be and what can happen. So, yeah, that's amazing to hear that side of it.
Yeah. And I truly believe it's because I gave myself that space. And I got out of my normal life here in Australia. I truly believe that if you are so overwhelmed and consumed by, I guess, the monotonous of life and the let's say the unthrillingness of life. I don't know if that's a word or not, but if you're not feeling
responsibility, I've been labelled irresponsible at times, but it is like this illusion of the need to maintain a certain level of responsibility or maintain a certain level of whatever your thing is that you've sold on needing to maintain, needing to go and work a certain amount, needing to have whatever it is. But when you do create that space, like you said, like that creates space, and when there's space, it's a vacuum. It's filled by something else. So you can extract the shit, no matter how hard it's going to be. It will be filled again by something else, just like that.
Yeah, it's so true. And I mean, this is why we go on holidays, right? This is why we go to retreats. This is why we go to yoga and meditation retreats. This is why we go to a park without our phones, because we're trying to create space for ourselves. That's what's required. Pardon?
That's why we meditate.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And we get so stuck in this world here. We just need to get outside of ourselves a little bit and not take it so damn seriously. So I heard something in the last couple of days, and I really allowed myself to be pulled out and just see everything from a wider lens. And it was, in 100 years' time, every single person on this planet is not going to be here. Every single person will not be here. So what you're trying to achieve, or the houses that you're trying to buy, or the perfect job you're trying to have, or the perfect marriage you're trying to have, or the perfect children you're trying to have, or the perfect body you're trying to have, all of these perfection status things, or what society expects of us, or what the school expects you to do. I mean, holy shit, who really cares? In 100 years, no one's going to be here anyway.
Nope.
No.
Simple.
Yeah. That just created so much, just expansive thoughts and space. Yeah.
It is, man. Yeah. It is. And it's crazy looking back on before you had that perspective and going like far out. Like I held on to shit tight. Like I held on and I cared about things so tightly, and I allowed the care that I gave to those things to stress me out, to freak me out, to worry me, to concern me. It took up so much fucking space because of how much importance I gave to things. And it's funny because you sort of, I have this conversation with some people, and there's that objection of, oh, well, Matt, isn't that just like soulless? Are you not just detaching from things and you've got no attachment? And it's like, oh, well, I won't answer that. I'll let you answer that. Like from that perspective, like, yeah, people come and say, aren't you just detached? Like, where's the soul?
You detach from the rubbish so that you have more energy to give to what's really important.
What's for you?
For me, it's so simple. It is simply time with the people that I love. It's really it. Done and dusted. Beautiful conversations with the people that I love. Cuddles, kisses with the people that I love.
I love cuddles and kisses.
Time with them. Yeah. Oh, my nephews and my niece. I mean, I just love them so much. And experiences that light me up. So being outside in the sunshine, honestly, it's free and it gives me the most amount of joy over everything. And that's it. Experiences. I want to see what this world has to offer. I want to see every culture. I want to hear everybody's story. I want to see how everybody lives. I want to experience it all. And I want to have amazing relationships with people that I love and that love me.
Yeah. Actually, on that as well, that want to have amazing relationships, I think so often I find, and I remember this myself a lot back in the day, but I see it still a lot in others now, is this need to win the fight, but essentially lose the war. It's like attaching to something and caring about something so tightly, or needing to be right, or needing to have your point or opinion heard. It's more important than the bigger picture of, I actually just really want a loving, beautiful, harmonious relationship with this person. Yet my ego and my pride is what's seemingly more valuable to me in this moment, and there's just not that disconnect, and that's where the detachment comes in. It's like, you know what, I know that you're fucking wrong, but that has no bearing on this, and me proving that I'm almighty and right in this situation to make you wrong is gonna get none of us anywhere. So it's it's another, I guess, another example of the detachment.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, we both say to each other, would you prefer to be right or happy?
Yeah.
Or if you're in a relationship, would you prefer to be right or in love?
Yeah.
Really simple. It's, that fight to win the war all the time is just exhausting and a waste of time.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, really is. Mm.
Just on that, I remember a friend of mine, she's sitting there and she's like, oh, I'm just having this case of deja vu. I'm like, oh yeah, what is it? And she's like, you know how you're just at the right place at the right time and everything just feels right? I'm like, oh yeah, I know what you mean, but that's not my understanding of deja vu. It's like sort of when you see the same thing happen again the second time around, and she's like, no, that's what my friend told me it was. And I'm like, okay, you can call a tree a cat, doesn't mean it's a tree. It doesn't mean it's a cat. And she's like, well, I don't care. I'm calling it that anyway. I'm like, okay, let's call it that. I'm having deja vu too.
That's such a good example. Just laugh it off. Laugh it off.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
People
Who decides anyway?
So let's jump into what you're doing at the moment, because that's epic, and it's one thing talking about the adult mind and our own limitations, but you're all about the kids, and I think that's fantastic because, yeah, I mean, you can help the adults out, but essentially if we keep educating kids the same way, they're just going to keep running to the same issues that we're facing. So, yeah, shed a bit of light on what you do, like what it's like, I guess, to step into a home with, so for those that don't know, you're working with parents and their children one-on-one, not actually in like classroom settings. So what is it like stepping in, and what's that process of walking into a new home?
It's, you never know what you're going to find. I never know what is going to be said. I never know how a child is going to respond to me. I never know what the parent-child relationship is going to be like or dynamic is going to be like. And I never know what is going to work or not work for the child too. So for me, I've really had to dive deep into control issues that I've had, because you've got to get rid of those quick smart if you want to impact and work with children, or be a parent too.
So what do you know that you can hold on to?
Yeah. So what I know is what I know collectively about children. And what I know collectively about children is that children are programmed to please. They are programmed to want to do great things. They are constantly in the moment and free and present if given the opportunity, and they desire connection. Right? It doesn't often change. And so if all I know is that, which that is all I know for certain, because every child is different, but our core needs are pretty much the same, then the relationships that I can build with children are pretty amazing. I don't have any scenarios where a child doesn't want to see me again, and that's because I'm there to connect purely and solely with who they truly are, and I am there to see their wins. I'm there to see what they're good at. I'm there to see where we can build their confidence. I'm there to find opportunities for them to succeed, because these children don't often have those opportunities to just succeed time and time again, because they're in this busy world full of expectations that they find really hard to keep up with. And this is not a blame game. This is just how it is. So if I can come into the home and I can connect with that child in that moment, and then what I'm then able to do is create the strategies that the parent is to do with the child on a daily basis, honestly, it changes so quickly. I was just talking with a family the other day, and after one session and me seeing them 2 weeks after, they've implemented the session, the techniques that they do together as a family.
Yeah.
And she said the whole household is so much calmer. We feel so much more peaceful. Their other daughter is doing it too, and they love meditation time at night time. They love the connected family time. Quite often that's all it takes. And this is what I mean when we need to get back to basics and we need to simplify it, because it doesn't often need to be so difficult. But what gets in the way, I find, is the stress that comes from being an adult, so being the parent, and not knowing which is the right foot to step forward with caring for this child and trying to meet their needs, and being told by other professionals one thing. So my goal is to bring simplicity back into the home and empower the kids, so that they have tools they can turn to when they're experiencing the emotions they don't really like either.
Of course.
So, yeah, I mean, they hate it just as much as the adults do around them.
So what's the range of issues, I guess, and traits that you are with the kids that you're sort of working with, just to give the parents that are watching an idea, like the kind of kids that you do work with?
So I work from, my main age group at the moment is probably around 7 to 10. Seems to be the main age bracket where I get the calls. They range, boys and girls, they range. And I mean, if we want to talk diagnoses, they're mostly ADHD, or they have autism, or they're experiencing anxiety at some point. A lot of anger as well. There's usually a lot of anger and frustration with these kids.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting a lot. And in terms of their environments, it's just simply that we need to simplify it for them, because they don't know how to. So what that might mean is, look, honestly, we reduce screen time and things get better. We have some touching techniques that I teach and things get better because that parent is present with the child. We do some breathing activities together, parent and child calms. We've got a double whammy there. That's a combo. So both of them are getting the benefits.
Yeah.
And then, the parent, we have a coaching group every fortnight as well, because I believe parents need that space to really speak about what's going on for them. Yeah. And I find that through that, the main thing that comes up for parents is that they simply, that's not a simple thing, but they haven't actually accepted what's really going on. So there's still resistance to something, resistance to your child's behaviours, resistance to maybe the type of child that you have, resistance to how difficult it is on a daily basis, or how hard you're finding it daily, how exhausted you are. So there's resistance happening, and they haven't accepted their child for who they are and who they're not. And that's because we're getting told by so many different people what they should be as well and what they should not be. So who do you listen to?
You.
My number is so a lot of my work with the parents is just releasing guilt and shame and to a state of acceptance. And once that even happens, behaviours alter.
No doubt, and it's so true. Like everyone knows that we've all walked into a room that's really just dense energy, and then straight away we've just walked in and like, oh god, fuck, I can feel the energy in here. Compared to other times, we might be sitting around a group of people and someone with just boundless energy comes through the door, and everyone just like sits up and picks up, and straight away like the energy lifts. And that is, I think, a great, just something great that we can all remember and resonate with, of how impactful the energy around us is. And so what you're doing, Jess, I guess, is really tapping into those foundational, fundamental elements of consciousness and reality with respect to the vibration that we're all vibrating at, and that default frequency, and just getting that a lot more aligned across the people that are in the one unit, the one house. And then also, just stripping back that really dense energy, stripping back the fears, the anxieties, the uncertainties, and then really helping them just rise up together. And meditation is great for that. And no wonder that, like it really doesn't take much. And like your experiences with the dogs, and you're starting your own meditation practice, it doesn't take long for really, really profound impacts to start occurring within individuals and dynamics within the groups as well. Like, I'd just love to share as well, like my learning transcendental meditation, one of the things that they talk about is how they did these like group meditations. They go to new cities, and they got police statistics involved, and police involved to basically share with them the averages of all the different crime rates and all these things going on. They did these collective meditations in these cities, and like drastically watched all these numbers drop, all the crime rates, all the suicide rates, all these things drastically dropped, um, just from these guys helping the energy of the collective in that space. So I think it's fucking awesome what you're doing, and how you're going about it. And I think, and the reason why I'm so proud to have you here and be able to share this with you, and even though it's talking on in with respect to the children, is like you said, you're working from kids roughly from 7 to 10 years old. But what most people don't realize is by the time you're around 8 years old anyway, 7 to 10 years old, you've been wired. Like that's the time where your devolution happens. You've got your sort of default vibration set there, and then from that point we can either plateau our entire lives or decide to go on that journey of evolution and growth from that point on, and do what you're saying, which is face your fears, face those inner demons, and actually grow from them, which is what you're helping people do. So really, like, I hear that you're working from children from 7 to 10, but in my mind that might as well be a 45-year-old person that just hasn't begun their journey of evolution from that point on, which is why it would be having such a profound impact on so many of these adults too. I would like to ask though as well, like, because I've seen videos of really small toddlers doing meditation and yoga and that, but I think for me, I think that would be a really, really impactful process, but not in a tangible sense, because they're not kids that have really got that epic, social issues yet. But I think in the long term, seeing that play out, I think I'd be really interested to see how that it would play out, and what your thoughts are on that as well.
Yeah. So when we started at such a young age, so if we try and do this with our kids from 3 to 4, and I do start working with children from 4. What's in their brains when you consider the developmental stages of the brain, their brain waves are still quite slow, so they haven't really gotten to the speed of accessing our analytical mind, which is where all of the crap starts to come in. So what's really cool, if you can start at that young, really is developing the habit of doing it. So that's the key, right? Developing the habit, and then training your brain to be present and mindful from such a young age is incredible. And we simply can't fight it anymore. I mean, we've got studies and experiments and countries all over the world that start yoga at such a young age. They're surrounded by it. There's, I'm sure you've seen there's schools that introduce meditation, and not only do the kids love it, but you can see the energetic shift after the children have done it. They are calmer, they're more present, they're more able to engage in the schoolwork. So it's really about setting up those healthy habits and training the brain. And, like you said, so we've got 0 to 7 where our subconscious is programmed. And if I start with a child from 4, we've really got an opportunity, and I mentioned it today in a post that I did, of it's like a time machine. So if I can share this information, if parents know that you've got a few years of programming this brain, how can we be intentional about it and know what's going on? Let's program it in the best way possible. Like, treat it as a computer screen. It is, what messages we're giving out, they're taking in, and they will project until the day they die. So it is a time machine opportunity. It is a space to be mindful and to set up those healthy habits and thoughts that you want your children to have for the rest of their life.
And that's essentially what we're doing with our own work, is just reprogramming ourselves, because we had those shitty ones back in there at that age. So it's like, why would you wait until they're 35 to go, all right, go get a life coach now. When you can just start meditating, bro. Like, you're off the tit, start meditating.
Yeah, that's right. I know. That's why I feel like I am in a time machine, because I'm doing all the work, and then you can just see it so clearly after, when I spend time with all these children, you can just see where, okay, well, I can see now where that might lead to. So let's impact them now. Let's talk about it. Let's create positive change, positive outcomes. Let's be aware.
Yeah, what you said before about those main just knowings about the like collective of children being the freedom to be in the moment, the big ambitions. What else was there? There was a few more.
So love and connection, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do aim to please, and they seek positive praise. I mean, they respond to positive praise.
Yeah. So I remember, like, when I started to go down a bit of my own journey of self-inquiry, what I realized and recognized was that I actually thought a lot of these things that I'm now coming to as profound knowings back when I was a kid. I specifically remember feeling and thinking that way. And what I'm doing now, it seems, is stripping back all the shit and actually becoming more of a kid. And so when I stepped into the coaching role, I really want to help people be their most authentic self, express themselves authentically. And the best people to do that, like when I was learning property investing or business, I'd model the top echelon of property investors and businessmen. But the top echelon of people that are authentically expressing themselves are kids. So they're the ones that I would literally, like, I'd go out of my way to model them and mimic them. I'd walk down the street, I'd see a kid doing something, and I'd model what they're doing, whether it's a squawk or a scream or whatever. Parents would be like, "Go away, you crazy person!" But that was my training ground for really being in that moment and learning to embody all those just those ways of being again. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
Profound.
Yeah, to get stuck into play again.
So the whole thing is a game. The whole thing,
it is.
all of it.
Yep.
Go
I'm constantly saying we're in this. Yeah, it's just a Nintendo game. That's all it is.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's something that if you could just shake parents these days and give them one message, what would it be?
It would be to choose connection over expectation. So be present and connect with your child, with who they are today, instead of always focusing on what you're expecting of them. And when you can be more mindful and present with your child, you'll find your stress levels start to come down too. They're the biggest teachers that you can they're the best ones you can possibly ask for. They are. And they're your mirror. They're your, if you want the best learning journey and personal development journey and spiritual growth journey, parenting is it.
Have a kid.
They're hard.
Hey, baby, having a kid. It's called parenthood.
Time to get serious. No more mucking about, Matt. All right. If you want to learn more about yourself, you got to have the kid.
Jesus. All right.
Yeah. But that would be it.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't. I have incredible nieces and nephews, and they light me up so much at the moment that I'm very happy to stick with them for now. Wow. And give all my time to the other little munchkins I spend time with.
When you're really ready to start learning, you let me. You know what to do.
I do. And, I know it's going to be challenging for me too, for sure.
Of course.
There's going to be so many learnings. I don't even know what's coming for me.
Yeah. I know. I'm a little bit scared as well, actually, to tell you the truth. I see all these parents doing it. I'm like, yeah, it's full on. It is full on. My sister, she's just amazing. All parents, they just take my hat off to them. The ones that, especially the ones that are around me, that they just blow my mind.
Yeah.
Quickly, before we do head off, I'm conscious of time where this is a great conversation. We could keep going for hours, but I would love for you to touch on again one thing that you mentioned, which is just really seeing the kids for who they are and for who they aren't. And just actually, I want to park that for a second. Just on a side note, I want you to share with people your understanding of what the mirror is. When you said the kids are your biggest mirror, some people that aren't unsure of that. So I'd love for you to just share, what is the mirror and what does that mean?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is your children are showing up in ways that you often are too. So our children they learn from you as the parent. We've got our mirror neurons active. We've got the energetic exchange constantly. They're learning from you, purely and simply. And so if you ever hear people say, John and his son, they just don't get along because they're too much alike. You know how people say that a lot? It's the same thing. It's really similar. So there's the mirror. Your child is the biggest mirror. It's that idea that we have of projection and reflection. It plays with our kids too. So if you're triggered by your child, then he's showing you that for a reason. That's there because they know it's going to trigger you, by the way. They know that it will. So it's there for you to look at. Yeah, I know. They know how to get you. They know every little button. They know. So the mirroring, it seems confronting, but that's, again, if you respond to it with fear, just start getting interested. Interested.
And that's so as a salesman, we say be interested instead of interesting, and that still applies as well, because really, like as a parent or as one half of any relationship, in being interested and really being genuinely interested in what is going on for the sake of your own growth ultimately, but by just understanding them as well is going to help with your own development, instead of being interesting and needing to be heard or needing to share your side. It's really important.
Totally love that.
And the second part, what I was asking before as well, about really being able to see the kids for who they are and for who they aren't. And for people that are listening as well, we're talking about kids, but we're also talking about you and the people around you.
Yeah, this relates to everybody. And one of the biggest things that we grow up having difficulty with, which is what I faced as well, but we have difficulty just being ourselves, our authentic self. That is the biggest issue that we face as adults, is self-worth and authenticity. They're our biggest problems. And so what does that mean when you're a child? Well, it means that let's start accepting them for who they are in that moment, instead of focusing on who they're not. Because if you don't meet children where they are in this moment, you actually never meet them. You never get to meet the magic of them in this moment. There's never going to be a child like yours ever on this planet. So why not get to understand who they are right now, and why not try and prevent the main issue of all people, which is a lack of self-worth and a lack of feeling comfortable with authenticity? Why not try and prevent that now for your child? If we want good outcomes, if we want to set our child up for success, tell you how to do that. And it is that they feel fiercely loved and accepted for who they are and who they're not. And not to get too scared either. Our children are going through milestones, and they're going to have different and crazy emotions, and they're going to have outbursts, and they're going to say they, want to drive the Garbo truck for the rest of their life, and who really cares if it is anyway? So they're going to say these crazy things and do these crazy things, but it doesn't mean anything. None of it means anything. So and if they embarrass you at the shops, or if they are the bad child in school, it doesn't. Let's not take it so seriously all the time, and let's just accept and connect with them in this moment.
You speak my language.
Yeah, that's what they get to feel, and you are the parents, you're the main cheerleaders, and they need to feel that. Got to feel it.
And also feel it. They feel it by you setting the example as well. And so if you're struggling with your own self-worth and with your own acceptance and love, then if you want love, the best way to get it is by going and giving it to someone. So if there's something that you want, go and give it to someone. Go and shower it on people, right? And the law of reciprocity says it will come back to you in droves. So whatever it is, like the best way you can get what you want is by going and giving it to others, and especially obviously children and your self-worth and theirs. What a beautiful gift to have someone to help or to guide through that process, and to have someone there like a child, like this little angel, to help you through your stuff by allowing you that space to give all that to them as well, in turn allowing you to work through your own stuff. That's amazing.
Fuck,
I'm gonna be a kid.
Absolutely. You know what I just thought of? Yeah. I just thought of, imagine if we could say that, having a child is basically like going to a Tony Robbins event, or it's the same as going to some crazy, essentially it is, they're here to trigger us and teach us everything. Yeah. So this is the start, seeing the funny side to it and the interesting side to it, and it'll all pass and change, and yeah, it won't be so serious.
Well, that's part of changing your mind, isn't it? It's like, all right, do you find that you're serious all the fucking time? Do you find that life is stressful? Change your mind. Realize that, like, Jess is here. She's just found her passion. She's pretty fresh into it. 1.5 years, though, as well. Like, a lot of businesses don't even make it out the gates, let alone to year 1 and 2. So you've done an amazing job with that, right? But you're such a easygoing disposition. You're really accepting, really loving, just out there and really clearly comfortable just being yourself and just expressing yourself as it comes up, going with the flow. And that doesn't mean to say that there's not times of anxiety and stress and concern, because that's just a part of going with the flow and accepting that that's your expression at that time as well. It's being able to change your mind and realize that nothing really matters unless you want it to matter. And if it's not serving you in that moment, then you're able to let it go.
Yeah.
Share with people little freebie that you've chucked in for them and that you've got there to give away as well.
Oh yeah, so I've created it's a 5-day anti-anxiety challenge for children. So it will be in the links, and Matt has got it there. And this really will be, it's intentional. I've created it with strong intentions, and they are designed to start conversations with your child that maybe you've never had before. Start getting them to think about things that maybe they've never thought about before too, and start some practices within the home that will really help. So well worth signing up to and just seeing how they impact your child. It's only 5 days. It's super simple. The emails are simple. So give it a go, and any questions, then contact me. Let me know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a quote that I love is, I don't know who or where it came from, but it's, you can base a person's success on the amount of uncomfortable conversations they've been willing to have. And I love that, because that's got my ass into gear so many times and really got me to step up to the plate. It's like, all right, I do not want to have this conversation. This is going to be the worst fucking thing ever, but that's what I got to do. That's like, because as soon as I feel that feeling, I know that's what I got to meet. And so I love that that's what you've created, and a space for that. I created the what's it called, the 30-day Go Live Challenge, which is a free group as well for anyone to really test themselves and step up in front of a camera and just be seen and step up and just speak out like that. So every single day, if you've never done that before, you're like, I don't want to fucking do this. Click, turn on. Hi, I feel awkward. How you going? But what a powerful, like you said, powerful intention to hold that space in the face of creating a strong relationship with your child as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Love it, Matt. That's perfect. Perfect ending.
There's no goodbyes. There's just see you later, Jess.
I feel like we've covered it all, and yeah, thanks for letting me share everything.
Absolutely.
Really, I'm really happy to be on here with you.
No worries. You too. And good luck with what you're doing in the future, and to go on and prosper with was it yoga with kids therapy?
So, kids yoga therapy.
Kids yoga therapy. That's the one.
Yeah.
And
Close.
that's it. It matters so much. No, get it right though when you type it in when you're looking for Jess. But guys, thanks for joining us, Jess. You've been amazing, and yeah, look forward to again what's coming up in the future. So we'll catch you guys later and see you soon.
Thank you.